Hello, everybody. Welcome to my live show today, where I'm doing things in slightly different order. I know usually my art review is on Tuesday nights, but seeing as this is Mother's Day and I do want to get a video out, I figured I'd do it now. It would be fairly quickly this one, guys. Don't expect a very long live today. As I said, this is Mother's Day, so of course I do eventually have to go see my mom. Not have to, but I of course want to go see my mom on Mother's Day. So I'll do the live as quickly as possible, and we'll all be able to move on to other things. So to all the mothers out there, happy Mother's Day. And obviously, guys, if you have your mother around, still alive, please go give her a hug and a big kiss for me or for yourself, either way. So I hope that you guys have a great Sunday. And if you do spend time with your mother, like I said, do give her a big hug and kiss from me. So we'll be starting fairly shortly. So just give me a second to set things up here just right. So we'll start after this short commercial break and we'll get into our topic of the day, still life. Hello, hello, and we're back. So, as I was saying, today we're going to be talking about still life in art and how it's changed over the years. It's not going to be an in depth analysis. I will be sharing with you guys um, the Wikipedia page that I'm inspiring myself from because you guys know I love Wikipedia. It's a great source of information. And like I said, I'm not going in depth. So if you really want more details, you guys can use the Wikipedia page and the links that they have to go above and beyond that. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and share that link in a second, guys. And then I'm also going to give you guys some of the photos of still life that I've taken from the Montreal Museum of Fine Arts to sort of demonstrate a little bit of what we're talking about here. Okay? Because as you guys know, I don't just like talking, talking, talking. I also like to show so that way you guys have a better sense of what it is that I'm talking about, right? When you have both going, it's a lot easier to learn things. I've learned that for myself, and I've learned that from other people as well. The more senses that you involve in your learning, the easier it is for you to learn those things. So if you can involve smell, touch, and hear and see, and you know, walking through something, right? You tend to learn that a lot quicker and a lot easier than just listening to somebody talking about it. So we're gonna go ahead and share the link for the Wikipedia page. Like I said, I have no shame. I go to Wikipedia first and foremost for my knowledge, and then if there's links, if there's other places I go to, I then go to them as well. But I have no shame in it. Wikipedia and I are BFFs. So for more. All right. So hello, hello, Diane. How are you? Tamas, Salamat. How are you? Hello, Beth and family. Thank you for being here. Hope you're having a great morning, Diane. Sissy, how you doing? Obviously, I hope that you're going to spend some time with your mother. I don't know what it is in the Philippines, but here in Canada, it is Mother's Day. So if it is Mother's Day as well in the Philippines, I do hope that you're going to spend some time with your mother. And I hope that you have a great day. Even if you don't spend time with your mother because it's a different day for you guys there. But if it is Mother's Day for you as well, I hope that you spend some time with her, appreciating all the things that she's done for you, as most mothers have done for their children. So today we're going to talk very quickly about still life. Again, I'm not going to go into an in-depth every little detail of the art subject, but just really a quick overview. I've already shared the Wikipedia page where I got most of my information from. Um, and that way you guys will be able to at least start with that. So my live will be 20, 30 minutes, not much more than that, because like I said, I do want to go to my mom and visit her on Mother's Day as well. So let's get into it, guys. So, of course, the question is, what is still life art? Okay, it's not nothing complicated or difficult. Still life is basically it's about representing common items from the natural world or the man-made world in as realistic of a possibility as you can get it. Don't forget, guys, when still life originally started, it started in the ancient world. So, ancient Egypt and ancient Greece, ancient Rome, right? Where a lot of the modern stuff that we have today did not exist, right? And traveling around the world to see the ocean, to see mountains, to go to, from Greece to Asia or whatever, it wasn't something that was commonplace, right? This wasn't something that anybody and everybody could do. Consequently, people who want to see and hear things from the other world needed to watch paintings essentially to be able to do that. So that's why it was important to, have accurate paintings and hyper realistic paintings like still lifes in order to see what an elephant was, in order to see what an orange was. A lot of these things that for us we take for granted that these are, everyday thing. Most of us have seen what an elephant looks like, even if it's not in person. We all, we have TVs, we have YouTube, we have all these different technologies that allow us to uh, see it somewhere somehow, right? Some of us have been lucky enough either through a zoo or maybe you went to a country that has elephants and you're actually able to see an elephant in real life as well, right? But in the ancient world, they didn't have that. That's why, for a very long time, still lives was very important, and it was important to have these representations. Now, originally in this time period, okay, when you're saying natural world, you're talking about food, flowers, and particularly dead animals, but animals in general as well. Um, and of course, you're also representing the man-made world, like jewelry, coins, or pipes, etc. Right? And oftentimes you're making it seen as to show this is how this person lives. So it could be a particular person, it could be a wealthy person, it could be just, hey, here in Rome, this is how we live our lives. Hello, hello, Moments with Cody. How you doing? Thank you for being here. So this morning Moments with Cody, I'm talking about still life. I'm gonna quickly go into it. Okay, it's not a big long talk about it. I don't want to bore you guys with these topics, but I find it interesting and I hope you enjoy it. I don't know. Thank you, Moments with Cody, for sharing. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So thank you for the thumbs up. Yes, definitely, guys. If you can give me a thumbs up, if you can share me on your community tab, if you have one, it would be much appreciated. Thank you, guys. So, Moments with Cody. I don't know. I don't think you're Canadian or American. If I remember correctly, I think you're Nigerian. But correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, I don't want to get misinformed about you. But let me know if in Nigeria if it's Mother's Day today because it is Mother's Day here in Canada and in the U.S. If it is Mother's Day, let me know what you're planning to do with your mother. If it isn't, just let me know what you're doing today. Anyway, that's always enjoy hearing what people are doing during their day when they are from a different country. I like to learn and to see how people live, what the common things are, what the differences are, etc. All right, so we're going to continue. So as I said, still life is really about representing everyday life as it is and trying to be as realistic as possible. Because again, guys, back in ancient times, which is what we're talking about right now, you travel wasn't easy. Communication wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. If you were living in the middle of England, chances are you probably never left outside your own village. You probably never went further than, a 2 3 day walk because uh, that was the main mode of travel was walking, right? Oh, okay, you are Nigerian. That's why I was thinking that you were. Okay, and your church celebrates USA. Okay, okay, cool, cool. So, oh, great, great. All right, excellent. I'm glad that you're celebrating Mother's Day. So, give her a big hug and kiss if you are seeing her today and you are going to church. So, give her a big hug and kiss for me and tell her that everybody on the internet loves her and enjoys her. Oh, he took you out to. Okay, excellent. I'm glad that you're having a great day today and that you're going to have big plans with you and your husband and your family. That's good. Always good to hear that. I would love seeing that people spend time with their family, especially these days. It's so difficult to connect with our family and friends. We're all so busy and stressed and, the YouTube life and everything else. So I'm glad that you're spending some time with your mother today. And I'm glad that you're spending some time with me here today as well. So, of course, we're going to continue with our topic here. So, like I said, it started in the ancient world, particularly in ancient Egypt, ancient Greek, and Roman worlds. But of course, has become something that everybody has done in the art world across the world and time periods. We're not going to talk about all the different time periods because you can go through how still life has changed over the years. You'll post a video tonight. Excellent, great. I can't wait to see it. Can't wait to see it. So I'm definitely going to be watching it for sure. So obviously in the ancient times, okay, when you're talking about still life in ancient Egypt, it really was painting what was brought with them in the afterlife. Because I don't know if you guys know this, but in ancient Egypt, the religious beliefs is that uh, death isn't the end, right? It's just going to another world, another dimension, however you want to look at it, right? So oftentimes the living would bring things into the tomb or around the tomb that they thought that the person that is now deceased would need in their afterlife. And of course, you're going to be eaten in the afterlife. So oftentimes you'll find murals or pictures or actual food in or around the tomb, right? So that's why still life was so important and was so important to be realistic, right? Because these were the things that the decedent would be bringing to with them to the afterworld, right? The afterlife. I'm Canadian. I'm specifically from Montreal. Moments with Cody. So c'est ça pourquoi je parle français aussi. That's why I also speak French as well. So thank you for asking, right? And as of course Egypt was conquered by the Greek and then the Romans. Of course, there was a cultural exchange because obviously there's not a huge difference. There is a difference in geography, I should say, between Rome and Greece and Egypt. They're separated by the Mediterranean, but you can basically take a boat between Egypt and Greece and Italy, essentially. Okay, so of course the Romans, the Greeks adopted that style of painting and representing their life on a day-to-day basis. So of course, the Romans transformed it and made it because they don't have the same religious beliefs as the ancient Egypt did. They transformed the still life to become something much more of representing the wealthy lifestyle that a lot of people would have. Because again, guys, when you're talking about painting, right, or building murals, this is not an activity that anybody and everybody can do, right? This is back in the ancient times where you're basically a lot of times fighting to survive. So it really was the wealthy people that could afford to hire painters or people to make murals, etc. So it really was the life of luxury that allowed people to do these kinds of things, right? And in Wikipedia, they mentioned that particularly in Pompeii, that was wiped out due to a massive volcano explosion. When they came in and uncovered it, that's what they found, that in a lot of the wealthier homes, you'd have these still life depictions, either in paintings or murals, etc., of some of the things that they, as wealthy people, could afford, like fresh fish. For us, fresh fish, that anybody and everybody can get fresh fish, right? It's a common dish to have. Fish is very commonplace because it's cheap, it's mass produced, and of course, nowadays we have things called fridges and freezers that allow us to keep in our homes all this food that we would want to eat, or to go to the grocery stores and buy it daily or weekly, whatever the case might be, right? But in ancient Rome, still life food in particular was really something that only a wealthy person can afford to buy it and not have to actually raise the animals or farm or have to go into the river or ocean or whatever to hunt and kill the animals and that they were going to eat. Okay, but it also, in even in ancient Roman times, you see that it, as the years went on, it not only became a symbol of what the wealthy were up to, but eventually it became, I'm talking about still life here, became a representation of our earthly world and our mortality, right? So, really to show this is what you're going to have here and now, but not necessarily when you pass away. Okay? So basically, still life is is considered an art form, but it's also considered a not necessarily lowbrow form, but because it's represented the daily lives of people, right? It's not considered really highbrow painting. It's not considered the kind of painting necessarily, for the most part. Now I'm not talking about the ancient world, but I'm talking about modern times, right? It's really just oh, you're just doing it, for the fun of it. And part of why I wanted to talk about still life is that a lot of people are coming out here criticizing these Instagram influencers. Oh, look at them taking pictures of their food. Oh, they're wasting time. That the food is going cold, and et cetera, et cetera. They're not enjoying the moment. But in reality, we've been quote unquote taking pictures of our food since ancient times, right? With the still lives. So that's kind of why I'm talking about this, and kind of why still life is considered almost lowbrow painting, or the common man painting, right? Because it's something that anybody and everybody can do and have in their homes without necessarily, you don't have to pay $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 to get a still life painting. It's a really a common, it's popular, but a common place of painting. Trompe l'oeil is also a specialization of still life. So trompe l'oeil is French for trick in the eye, is a literal translation. But basically, you're making paintings that are illusions, right? They're meant to trick you, right? So you think that you have a painting that's 3D when it's really not. It's two dimensionals, right? So trompe l'oeils were built out of the necessities of still life, because you're trying to create a true to life painting, right? You need to add three dimensions to it, right? You need to add paintings that look like if you're dealing with an animal that has fur, you want it to make it look like it actually has fur on it, right? So you're using a lot of these illusions, using a lot of these tricks in order to create these paintings, right? So obviously, by the Middle Ages, still lives have become very different, and you saw with the ancient Rome that even during their times, the use of still life has changed from something that is used to simply represent the lives of the wealthy to having a more not really religious, but more sophisticated meaning, where it's really symbolic. Sorry, I'm having trouble with that word today. Symbolizing the daily life of our world here on Earth. In the Middle Ages and early Renaissance, it became a religious symbol. So it was really there to represent our world and our relation with God Himself, right, with the Christian world, right? So you basically had paintings showing one of them particularly might have been, let's say, a bride and groom going to the altar, right? So this is considered still life and not a portraiture because you're basically representing, you're not just representing the bride and or the groom, but you're representing a whole bunch of other items and what it is like for average married couple to get married, including obviously the religious Christian symbologies as well with that. So of course you might have religious text written down. You know, if there's like a cloth, it might be written or woven into the cloth. You're also using Christian motifs or symbols or allegories, for example. So you might use certain flowers, right? That certain flowers have meanings to them. So some flowers are mean death, some mean love, etc. There's a fish symbol that represents Jesus, etc. So you have all this imagery woven into the still life to show this is commonplace marriage. This is what most people should expect from their marriage when they go to the altar and find themselves a spouse, right? So we're gonna make a quick jump to the modern world, okay? Because obviously I'm not gonna go through all of it, but you guys get the idea that still life is really about representing the daily life of people and how that has transformed because the world has transformed, right? How religious beliefs, where you are, so are you in ancient Egypt, are you in Europe, how that impacts how still life will be represented, right? So I'm going to show you guys a few different pictures of that I've taken of still life paintings at the Montreal Museum of Fine Arts, and to show you guys a little bit about how still life is done now in contemporary world, right? But also a couple pictures from more traditional, kind of what we expect in the modern, like from not necessarily modern, but traditional still life. I'm just gonna take a little sip of my tea, guys. So just give me a second. All right, I'm back. Thank you guys for waiting. So I'm gonna go ahead and share the traditional paintings of still life that we most of us, when I say still life, most of us probably have these types of paintings in our head. Um, so here's one. So this is a still life, right? This is not necessarily the typical one that most of us think, but this is something that was typically done in the Middle Ages, Renaissance, olden times kind of thing, right? So you basically, not what I want to do here. There we are. So you kind of have the idea of what some of these ancient people thought of still life. So again, here, guys, you're seeing with this painting that the painter is telling you this is what to expect at a typical gathering of family, friends, etc. So you have people playing music, you have the dog, you of course have food on the table, you have some flowers, etc. Right? And they're basically showing some of the wild animals. So really, this is what we were talking about when we're talking about still life. So you have natural items. So you have flowers, you have bird, you have a dog, you have food on the table, etc. But of course, you have man-made items like the cage, the flute, the table chairs, etc. And people obviously in clothes. So in this point, even though it's not the traditional bowl of fruits or flowers that you're talking about that most of us are accustomed to see. This is considered a still life because it's really out here trying to represent what the daily life is for somebody in this time period, right? So we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit more about this. So as you can see, this is a painting that is called As the Old Sing, So the Young People Pipe. Okay, and it's done by Jacob Jordans and Workshop. Okay, and as you can see, he's a Flemish artist from the 16th century, 16th or 17th century. Okay, So obviously, it really represents what life was like in Europe at that time. Uh, as you can see from the description, okay, the title is a proverb, meaning that children take after the adults. So as you can see, there's three generations of family, okay, and really showing how the traditions pass down from one generation to another. So with this painting, the artist is showing that a typical family in Flemish would be this, and you'd have three generations together, working together, living together in the same household, and doing things as a family as a whole. And however the parents are going to be, your grandparents, that's how the youngest ones will be as well. So to sort of have that, instillment of if you're good people, your children will probably be good people as well. Consequently, that whole idea of, in the Bible of seven generations of sin, right? You sin, well, there's going to be several generations of your family that will sin as well. Your sin is inherited, right? So that's why, again, we are talking earlier about how Christian beliefs now are being represented. So this is how that kind of concept, that Christian concept, is incorporated in this painting here, right? Where basically whatever the parents do, the children will do without, whatever the grandparents taught the parents will teach the little children, right? So if you teach your children good things, they're going to teach their children good things, etc. Right? So that's why for so many it was important to be a good Christian person, be very righteous and pietous and all that, right? You needed to be a good person to ensure that other family, your younger generations in your family, were also good people. So that's that painting. And we're going to go to the next, which is much more typical of what we would see in a still life painting. So, of course, here we have a still life of a vase full of flowers, right? So, there in this painting, you can assume that this is what people are saying. Hey, a typical vase of flowers will contain this, right? So, mostly tulips, but you have irises here as well, and a few peonies and all that, and a few other flowers as well. But of course, you have dead flowers here as well because a lot of things, and I didn't mention it earlier, but I mention it now, a lot of still life will also represent death as well. Okay, so that's something you're going to see later on in still lives, but it is something that represents, especially with natural world items like flowers and animals, because oftentimes in the ancient world, in order to paint these items, you have to have them in front of you. Well, if you want to paint a grizzly bear or a fish, the fish isn't going to sit there and pose for you, right? The bear isn't going to sit there and pose for you. So typically, in order to have to paint these animals in particular, they have to be dead. Generally speaking, they don't have to be, but generally, they're going to be dead by the time you're there. So you're not necessarily taking a lot of paintings of alive animals, right? So this one is, of course, still Life of Flowers in a Stoneware Vase. And again, it was painted by Jan Brumbel, the Elder, another Flemish artist. So you can see the description for yourselves. And of course, this painting was seized by Nazi Germany because, as you guys know, during the 1930s and 1940s, part of Germany's issue was uh, there was art that they considered as inappropriate art, and they seized a lot of art from particularly Jewish families, but a lot of other artists as well as families, and really put it in a special gallery where they say, "Ooh, this is inappropriate art. This is not. Don't go see this. This is crappy art." But of course, that exhibit became the most popular exhibit that they had because obviously, when you tell people not to do something, they do exactly that, right? So that's an example of a typical what we think of still life. This is what it is. So I'm going to talk now about the contemporary version of still life. So as you can imagine, modern day, although we still have that idea of representing our modern life, our daily life here in the 22nd century, right? We really are trying to show how we live, right? Many of us might not be religious, or we might be from a different religion, etc. Some of us are, Muslim or Christian or Jewish or Buddhist or atheist or what have you. So our life is going to be represented differently than that of others. So I'm going to go ahead and show you a close up of it, but it's basically, it is a still life. In fact, give me a second. I'm actually trying to find a better picture of this. As much as I don't mind, uh, yeah, we're gonna go to this one. Okay, that one's probably a lot better. There we are. Okay, so I'm back here with you guys here. So I'm gonna share this photo of another example of still life, but of course it is done in a much more contemporary fashion, really showing how still life has changed, right? So, of course, nowadays we have a whole access to different kinds of technology, right? We're not, when we create art, we're not just creating art with painting, right? We're creating art with music, with stone, with trees, with anything and everything, right? So in this, it's not a painting; it is basically a sculpture, essentially. Okay, and it really shows how still life today can be done versus how it used to be done. All right. So this is a still life painting, and as you can see, you have the Christian symbols here, but you also have these other things here as well as snails, right? So it really shows how things have changed drastically in the display of contemporary art, right? So it's no longer a painting, it's a three-dimensional object that you can touch and walk around. And it's still representing still life. It's natural items, it's uh, man-made items, the cross, right? And really, in this one, it is called, let's go to the title here, the pollution, cultivation, new ecology, or slavery of the preservation of the human race, right? So in this one, you're really talking about the pollution that we create and are living the consequences of, and how that is really destroying humanity, right? And obviously, Jesus is, a symbol of salvation, particularly for Christians, right? So that's why you have that cross there, and we're out here trying to save ourselves from something that we created ourselves, i.e., pollutions, right? We're all here trying, and we have to fight. We have to stop, recycle, stop using plastic, buy less, etc., buy used items, all that, right? Um, and it's like in this painting, the artist is criticizing that idea and really saying, "Are can we really be saved? Are we really doing that? Are we accomplishing that? Or are we just making things worse or putting the blame on people when it's really corporations that are the biggest polluters, etc." Right? But I kind of wanted to show you guys this painting to sort of show you how still life has changed drastically and is something very different nowadays than what it was back in the day, because our world is very different. We're not in the same world that we used to be back in the day. Okay, so basically that's it for me today, guys, and my introduction to you guys of still life. I hope you guys enjoyed it and appreciated it. So I will see you guys later today. I probably will go live again, but I'm not sure. I haven't set up, and I'm basically starting in June. I'm working on different ideas of projects that I would like to do for my channel. So hopefully, in a month from now, you guys will be getting new and improved content for me. So I hope you guys enjoy it. And like I said, that's it for me today, guys. So have a great day. Give your mothers a big hug and kiss from me if you are celebrating Mother's Day today. So, au revoir, guys. Bye.